Hey, Mr. Daphne, how you doing?
Hello, Reggie. I'm good, alhamdulillah. How are you?
I'm doing great, sir. The first time that we taped, you did a good job. A lot of people said how great it was, and I just want to say thank you.
Oh, thank you, Reggie. You know, we have to inform the people of what's going on. You know, it's a moral duty to speak and inform the people, so I also like to thank you as well.
Well, I'm glad that you're educating us, sir. And is there anything you'd like to say before we begin?
Yes, thank you. In the name of Allah, the most merciful, the most benevolent, I would like to state for the record that I don't work for legal advice. I don't give legal advice. This is for educational, informational, and entertainment purposes only. I would also like to say that I love my mother, I love my father, I love our son, I have love for the mother of our child. And I believe from our last talk that we had, we left off speaking about the void child support orders and how they were void, and you would ask me would I be willing to show people that when the time came, and this is the time for that.
Yes, I remember you stated that you have received some fraudulent documents.
Yes.
And I'm sure the people is as anxious as I am to get a look at those documents, and you can explain to us exactly what is going on in this corrupt Marin County court system.
Okay, yes. So this is FL 665. And what this is this findings and recommendation of the commissioner. So basically, they left the petitioner spot blank. This is an incomplete written instrument, and also under 28 USC 1691, all seals and writs of processes, this would be null and void, because what that states is that all writs and processes of the court will be stamped and signed by the clerk thereof, meaning the judge. So this commissioner is a non-judicial officer, so this has no legal force to it. So basically this is color of law, meaning that it resembles a court order, but you have to remember that the child support office is in the executive branch of government. And if they made a court order, that would violate the separation of powers doctrine. So this is a forgery of a real court order. And under Penal Code 115 and Penal Code 470, this would be a forgery. This is an incomplete written instrument to defraud me of my money. I've blanked out these things in the purple to blank out the case number and names the mother of our child for privacy reasons. But Michelle Moniz and Commissioner Longaker put together this court order that was stamped by the clerk, Chris Hahn. The original one has whiteout, where he signed his signature over whiteout, which is also an alteration of a legal document.
And her name is Michelle Mona?
Michelle Moniz.
Is that the one who was Michelle Mayonnaise in part one?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So this is page 2 of this FL 665. We turn to page, this is FL 630, which is a judgment regarding parental obligations. As stated again, this is void ab initio quorum non judice, meaning that this has no legal force because this commissioner is not in the judicial branch of government. He's not a judge. They stamped this with a stamp, and they also used a marker to cross out who the petitioner is. So once again, you can't make unauthorized alterations without the parties agreeing. So they forged my name on here, and I never authorized this. They coerced me into this, and I never agreed. So under contract law, there has to be equal consideration. So this man, Christopher Longaker, has made a forgery and helped aid and abet the child support agency and Michelle Moniz. They have stamped this court thing, order prepared by court per CRC 5.125, but this has no legal authority. Codes are not statutes. The real law is the Constitution, your God-given, God-granted rights, which they're violating apparently in this fake court order. This is the back of that, and he signed this, which is also a forgery. So he's basically signing saying this is a real court order, but this has no legal force. This is the back of this, saying that he's a judicial officer. This is also a forgery because this gentleman is in the child support branch, meaning executive branch of government. Under Government Code 1099, he can't hold 5 positions. This man has stated that he's held 5 positions. Pro tem judge, commissioner, child support commissioner, and
Can I ask you one thing, sir?
yes.
Can we scoot down here a little bit and we can proceed to have a little more room here?
Okay. So this is FL 688, and as stated, once again they've crossed this out with a marker. No competent court would do anything and file this. So they're filing forgeries of court orders and using these incomplete, unauthorized written instruments to rob me out of my money. And in order to get somebody's money, you would have to get a warrant or a court order from a trial by jury. But since they bypassed that, they're violating the due process, and this is illegal. This is not stamped, and the parties haven't agreed to these alterations, meaning that in contract law, you would have to have equal consideration. So they basically forged my name on here and used this fake, incomplete written instrument to ruin my credit and steal money from me. But as stated, this is a fake court order.
And when you received this document, sir, it was already X'd out like that.
Yes. And this voids it. This is already void because the executive branch of government is trying to make a court order. They don't do that. That's a violation of the separation of powers doctrine. So this is a forgery under federal rules of procedure in the California Penal Codes, PC 115 and PC 470. This is the back of that. Once again, this is also a perjury on this man, the Commissioner Longaker, stating that he's a judicial officer. Under Government Code 1099, you can't hold 2 offices in different branches of government. So he's not a judicial officer, he's a child support commissioner, and this is a forgery of a court order. He has no authority to do this.
And so how many branches of offices he's holding?
He's stating that he's in 2, judicial branch and executive branch, but he only could be an executive. He can't be both. So this is a fraud, where he's telling people he's a judge, and that goes against the U.S. Constitution and the Government Code 1099. This is a short order after hearing. So basically what they did was, when I asked them to verify this debt, to validate this debt, to show proof of a undertaking, proof of a notice of levy, writ of garnishment, writ of execution, they couldn't do that. They threatened to have me arrested, and they removed me out of the court and proceeded to make this fake court order.
Without you being present?
Yes. This is a child support collections order to withhold. Basically, this is a forgery of a withholding order from a court. So what's going on is that the child support just sent this to the bank, my bank, to withhold my money. But this has no legal force because this is not from a court. They have the forged California seal here, and they have myself as a debtor. So what happened from the fake court order that I just showed you, they left the petitioner blank. They would have to be the creditor for me to be the debtor. But they never let me borrow any money. So they can't be the creditor. So their whole premise on saying I owe money is fraudulent because it violates the U.S. Constitution, and they haven't given me a trial by jury where it states that where there's a controversy of $20 or more under the 7th Amendment, you will be granted a trial by jury. So this is basically a forgery under Federal Rules of Civil Procedure and the Penal Codes 115 and 470. They also stole my Social Security number. I never gave them my Social Security number, but they stole this. This is also identity theft. So these people are doing a lot of legal things. They're committing fraud, and they're making fraudulent documents that they filed with the court, and they're not supposed to do that. This is illegal. This is the second page where it asks the bank about the status of my funds, but like you said, this is illegal. Void ab initio quorum non judice. That means that this is not from a judicial person. Void ab initio, void from the onset, and quorum non judice, non-judicial. 28 U.S.C. 1691. All seals and writs and processes from the court will have a stamp and the seal of the clerk, meaning the judge will sign it. This doesn't have it. This has a fake seal and some participant number. So this has no legal merit, but these people are connected with the court so they could get away with this fake court order. This also states that they can hold your IRA, mess with your pension, your dividends, your rents, your royalties and deposits, your trust funds. But it's stated under the U.S. Constitution, you need to have a trial court order from a trial by jury. You need to have a warrant. You need to have a writ of garnishment, a writ of execution, a notice of levy, a proof of an undertaking, and any kind of contract to validate that the debt is owed to the child support agency. But they don't do that, so they violate due process, and this is fake. It's stated in a case law, I believe to the best of my recollection, from the state of Minnesota, that states that the child support is unconstitutional because it goes against the jurisdiction of a state trial court, which should be the federal court. So what they're doing is illegal, and these are forged court orders under PC 115 and PC 470, California penal codes that deal with forgery. This is a fake written instrument to defraud money. So basically, in a nutshell, these are these fake court orders that they provided, and I wanted to make this video to notify the Department of Justice and to notify the State Attorney General that they're using fake court orders. I notified the San Rafael Police Department. They didn't want to get involved because they stated that it was a conflict of interest with them with the DA. So they basically obstructed a crime. I told the Nevada Police Department, I called them from the Child Support Office to report a crime, and they said that they acknowledged that these court orders were fake, and these were fake papers, but they said they're not going to do anything, and their bosses are not going to do anything. So basically, this is the proof that what they're doing is illegal. The Marin County Superior Court are filing fraudulent documents, and they're not supposed to do that. As stated, this paperwork here has X's and markers. No competent people would do anything like this. This is an incompetent person. Michelle, Moniz, and Commissioner Longaker are generating these fake court orders where they're using to steal my money. Once again, this is blank. When I asked the clerk would they accept anything like this, they said they wouldn't accept this unless it was filled out. So this is the proof that their whole court and their whole process and paperwork is fake. 28 USC 1691, this is null and void. The commissioner has no authority. Judge Adams has no authority to order me to pay this when they haven't showed the proof that I owe the money. And every time I ask them for oath of office or any kind of proof to validate that I owe the debt, they threaten me and to have me arrested and removed from the court. So I wanted to say that they're making forgeries because the child support is not in the judicial branch of government. They're in the executive, and anything that they make would be a forgery because they're not from a court.
And like you said before, sir, this Judge Adams have a history of this. This has been going on with her for over 20 years?
Yes. Judge Adams was fixing and rigging cases under a judge by the name of Judge Michael Dufusy. This was in the 90s when she was an attorney, and the late Paul Cameron, which was a family law attorney, stated that in an article by the Marin IJ, the newspaper, the Marin County Independent Journal. Also, Barbara Kaufman stated that they're witness tampering and evidence tampering with Judge Adams. I have also noticed it and witnessed that firsthand with my own eyes, and I have also stated this. What is going on is that I filed the CCP 170.1, which is a way to recuse judges for bias. Judge Adams and the attorney of a mother of our child, Johanna Kleppe, belong to this group called the Marin County Women Lawyers Group, and this is how they fix and rig cases. Under CCP 170.1, she should have recused herself because it's a conflict of interest, and she's not supposed to be in bias towards other parties. She's supposed to be impartial without bias. And what happened was I filed a CCP, and she wrote a statement under penalty of perjury that I should have filed an appeal for erroneous ruling to go to the Appellate Court. But what's happening is that Judge Adams does not want to be held accountable for her collusion and coaching of Johanna Kleppe, and then falsely putting a restraining order on my record because I informed the Appellate Court and the California Supreme Court of their prosecutorial criminal misconduct. So when I filed these writs to have the higher courts like the Appellate Court view this, they denied it. Because what's going on is that the Marin County Superior Court is exceeding their jurisdiction. The Appellate Court and the California Supreme Court have the jurisdiction, but they won't implement it. But under the AB 1058 Child Support Commissioner and Family Law Facilitator Program, the child support money goes to the state treasury. It was never intended to benefit custodial parents or children, but it is a way for the states to make money as their for-profit business. And this is stated under the case law Blessing versus Freestone and Blessing versus Supra, to the best of my recollection, in 1999 in Arizona with a women's school and child support agency. So basically, when you report these judges to the Appellate Court and California Supreme Court, they're not doing what they're supposed to do. They're not correcting the illegal errors of law. So as stated, the child support court orders are void. They would have to be set aside. They have no merit. Judge Adams, Commissioner Longaker, Judge Simmons, and Judge Talamantes court orders are null and void because the whole case started with fraud, and it's going to end with fraud. They can't do right since it started with fraud and collusion. So that would have to be set aside because that violates the due process when you have Judge Adams and Johanna Kleppe colluding and they're not removing themselves from the cases, which is illegal. So under CCP 170.1, the judge should remove themselves from the case, but they're not doing that. And the Appellate Court is not removing them. I sent a complaint to the Judicial Council on performance about Judge Adams and Johanna Kleppe. They sent me a letter back stating that they don't have anything to do with decisions. But that was a slick way of them saying they don't want to get involved. But what's going on is that the state auditor, Elaine Howell, in her office in Sacramento, are trying to subpoena and audit the records of the Judicial Council of Performance because their agency deals with the discipline of judges. So to the best of my recollection, they had 1,000 complaints, and they only did something about one complaint.
So out of 1,000.
Yeah, so basically it's a protection racket almost because they're supposed to do something about it and they're not. They're protecting the judges and they're giving them an immunity, and that's the case in my case where the judges won't remove themselves for committing fraud, intrinsic and extrinsic, and fraud upon the court for collusion and racketeering. But then you shed the light on the appellate court. The judges are stating that the appellate court will fix the error, but the appellate court is not doing anything. So that sheds a light on them for not doing what they're supposed to do. It also sheds a light on the Judicial Council performance because they're not disciplining the judges. And this is basically stating that all the parties that I have stated, and I'll say their names again: Judge Adams, Commissioner Longaker, Michelle Moniz, Sandra Tajero of the Marin County DA, Sandra Hirschfield, Judge Talamantes, Judge Simmons are all making void orders and judgments because it violates one's due process, and they've also kidnapped our son with these fake orders. But the problem is that the higher courts in this Judicial Council of Performance supports these decisions, and they won't do what they're supposed to do because this money goes to the state agency, the state treasury from the child support.
So the Marin County Child Support Courthouse is just a big old cesspool of illegalities, friends, and companions all working together.
Yes, that's a nice way that you put it, because as stated from the article with Judge Dufusy, the former Marin County Family Court judge, he was working with Judge Adams before she was a judge, and they were working through their agency or their quasi-agency called Family Law Lead Attorneys, which is their agency, Marin County Women Lawyers Group, where they have people that belong to this group that are family law attorneys and judges, where they fix and rig cases in their favor. So basically what they do, or in my occasion, was that they painted me as a perpetrator so they could put a restraining order on me. And I have no record of it. I'm a loving father. They put me on child support as a commercial transaction that pays to the state of California as a way for them to get federal incentive bonuses. So
yeah, they all work together. They put you in a bad predicament, bad situation, and there's no way you can get out of it.
No, because the upper courts support the decision, and if the upper courts were without bias and were impartial, they would correct the legal errors. So basically, you have judges which are in their private capacity meaning they're not judges in their public capacity. So what that means is a judge in a public capacity is going to be impartial without bias, but these judges and these people that I've spoken of in their private capacity using these funds to get incentive bonuses so they can make more money. So they basically traded their oath of office to get incentive bonuses, and that's not what a judge is supposed to do. A judge is supposed to be impartial without bias. So as I stated, they're all doing illegal things. I wanted to make this video with you to inform the Department of Justice and to inform the State Attorney General, the state level Department of Justice, and the federal level Department of Justice to notify Kamala Harris, Senator, I believe, and also to notify possibly the FBI that this is what they're doing that is illegal in the courthouse.
And this would not be the first time that the FBI had to intervene with Judge Adams.
Yes, to the best of my recollection, in that paper, that the newspaper article from the Marin IJ, that I believe a woman by the name of Catherine Shepard that came clean about them fixing and rigging cases. So basically, it's stated, Judge Adams took the place of Judge Michael Dufusy, and she's doing the same thing as her predecessor.